Hello friends, welcome back to in my YouTube channel that is Biology Center. Today I am going to teach you lipids. Okay, in the previous lecture I have stated that in a cellular pool different kind of biomolecules are found. Okay, some are called macromolecules and some are called macromolecules. Okay, so let's see what are those macromolecules. That is macromolecules, that is carbohydrate. Please do remember carbohydrates, nucleic acid, protein and lipids. These are the four macromolecules which are found in a cellular pool. Okay, out of which when talking about lipids, the lipids are water insoluble. Please do remember lipids are water insoluble, as I have stated earlier. Okay, now but when you're talking about nucleic acid, basically nucleic acid act as a genetic material. Please do remember nucleic acid act as a genetic material, that is in the form of DNA or RNA. Okay, now rest of these, when you're talking about carbohydrates, protein and lipid, then all these biomolecules are used as a substrate for the energy source. Okay, so when you're talking about lipid, if the lipid used as a substrate for the energy source, then it will release the energy, that is it gives the very high interest, okay, as compared to protein and carbohydrate. So it will gives the energy that is 9 calorie per gram. Please do remember it gives the energy that is 9 calorie per gram. Okay, now let's see, when talking about a cellular pool, then lipids contribute about to 2%. Okay, please do remember lipid contribute about to 2% of weight of protoplasm. Please do remember. Now let's see and the classification of lipids. Okay, classification of lipids. Lipids are divided into three categories. Okay, please do remember lipids are divided into three categories. Okay, one is called simple lipids. Second one is called conjugated lipid. And the third one is called derived lipid. Okay, now when we're talking about a conjugated lipid, first of all, this lipid is made up of two units, that is two subunits. Okay, that is lipid plus non-lipid part. Okay, what are these? That is phosphorus. It contains phosphorus. Okay, the example is phospholipid. So the example is phospholipid. Phospholipid and the glycolipid. Okay, now in the same fashion, when talking about derived lipid, then examples are steroid and cholesterol. Okay, these are the two examples of derived lipid. Now, but when we come to a simple lipid, then it also divided into three categories. Please do remember, it also divided into three categories. Okay, that is fatty acid. Fatty acid is also come to the category of simple lipid. Okay, in the same fashion, glycerol Glycerol also come into the category of simple lipid. In the same fashion, esterified lipid. No, these esterified lipids are making by the linkage of fatty acid plus glycerol. When these two units combine together to form a esterified lipid. Okay. Now let's see. We have to learn one by one. Okay. Now, first of all, I will talking about a fatty acid. Now let's proceed further. That is simple lipid. Okay. Is divided into three categories. Okay. That is glycerol, esterified lipid, and there is fatty acid. Okay. Now, fatty acid contain carboxyl group attached to different kind of R group. Okay. Now, for example, let's see here. Now, this is the structure of fatty acid. Now, this R group may be methyl, ethyl, propyl. Okay, now this R group may be methyl, ethyl, propyl. It may be that is carbon 1 to carbon 19 to 19 carbon. Okay, now this is called fatty acid. For example, now talking about a palmatic acid. Now this is 16 carbon containing compound. Okay, including, please do remember, including carboxyl group, including carboxyl carbon. Okay, now let's see the molecular formula. That is CH3, CH2 whole 14 plus 15, that is COOH. Now this is the formula, this is the molecular formula of palmatic acid. Now in the same fashion, when talking about arachidonic acid, now this is 16 carbon containing, including carboxyl group, that is carboxyl carbon. Okay, now let's see the formula. That is CH3, CH2 whole 18, 18 plus 19, and COOH. Now this is the molecular formula of arachidonic acid. Okay, now fatty acid may be saturated and may be unsaturated. Okay, on the basis of their different kind of R group. If the different kind of R group contain single bond in it, for example, let's see. Now, different kind of R group contains single bond in it. That's why this is called saturated fatty acid. Okay, and if the different kind of R group contain double bond or triple bond in it. That's why this is called unsaturated fatty acid. For example, no, this is called unsaturated fatty acid. Why? Because it contains double bond in it. That's all. Okay. Now let's come to the structure of glycerol. Glycerol is also called simple fatty acid. Okay. The structure is now this is the structure of glycerol. It is also called trihydroxy propane. Okay, now, but when you're talking about esterified lipid, then the esterified lipid are made with esterified lipid are formed by the combination of fatty acid plus glycerol. Okay, let's see. First of all, we have to make glycerol. Okay, now plus there is condensation dehydration reaction occur, okay, in which water molecules are get reduced. Just to remember, water molecules are evolved. Okay, this is called condensation or dehydration reaction. Okay. Now, if in a glycerol, if a single fatty acid are combined together, then this condition is called monoglycerate. If the two fatty acids are joined together by a single glycerol, then the structure is called diglyceride. And the third one is if the three fatty acids are joined into a single glycerol, then it's called triglyceride. Okay, let's see. This is the structure of triglyceride. Okay. Okay. Now, for example, let's see. When you're talking about a monoglycerate, then it will contain one glycerol plus one fatty acid. Okay, please do remember, but when talking about a diglyceride, then it contains one glycerol plus two fatty acid. And the same fashion, when talking about triglyceride, then it will contain one glycerol plus three fatty acid. Please do remember, and marks this point. This is very, very important. Okay, now all these monoglycerol, diglyceride and triglyceride are come into the category of fat. Okay, fat or oil. Okay, now what are the difference of fat or oil? Because on the hydrolysis, fat will gives the two subunits, that is fatty acid plus glycerol. Okay, now in winter, when talking about it, in winter, fat are present in solid state. Okay, fat are present in solid state. But when you're talking about the oil, then it is present in liquid state. Okay, now when you're talking about the melting point, then the fat has very high melting point. And fat has high melting point. But when you're talking about the oil, then it has low melting point. Now the example are, that is oil, it is called gingerly oil. Okay, now let's come to esterified lipid. Okay. Now come to conjugated lipid. Conjugated lipids. Okay. As I have stated earlier, that conjugated lipids are made up of lipids plus non-lipid part. That is, it contains phosphorus in it. If contain phosphorus in it, then the structure is called phospholipid. For example, that is called phospholipid. Okay, now let's see the structure of phospholipid. First of all, you have to make diglyceride. Okay, you have to remember that is now this is the structure of diglyceride. Okay, now this is the structure of phospholipid. Okay, now it contains two it. Okay, that is called polar head and polar tail. Okay, this structure, this region is called hydrophilic. Hydrophilic end. And this structure is called hydrophobic. That is hydrophobic end. Okay, okay. Now this phospholipid are arranged in a bilayer in case of plasma membrane. Okay, let's see. Okay, now it contains two ends. That is called polar head. Polar head are also called hydrophilic. Hydrophilic. It means that these are water loving. Okay, now it contains polar tail. Polar tail are also called hydrophobic. Hydrophobic in. This is also called water repelling, water hating. Okay. Now this is how the phospholipids are arranged in a plasma membrane. Okay. Now come to the last topic, that is derived lipid. Okay. Derived lipids. Okay. As I have stated that two examples are in case of derived lipid, that is steroid and cholesterol. Cholesterol are also called membrane stabilizer. Membrane stabilizer. Okay, now let's see the structure of cholesterol. First of all, you have to learn cholesterol are 6-member ring structure. Cholesterol are 4-member ring structure. Okay, out of which 3 ring contain 6 members. Please do remember. Let's see. This is the structure of cholesterol. Okay, this is the structure of cholesterol. Okay, now let's proceed further. Second topic, that is primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Okay. First of all, you have to know what do you mean by primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Okay. The sum total of all the chemical reactions which are occurring inside of our body, that is called metabolism. Okay. But when you're talking about inside in our body, the different kind of biomolecules are present. Okay, there are thousands of biomolecules are present. Okay, now those biomolecules which are, as the name indicate, primary metabolites. So it will be primary involved in the function of that is physiological activity. That is physiological activity. Okay, growth and development. Then these kind of metabolites are called primary metabolites. Okay, so it has identifiable role. Please do remember, it has identifiable role, because we all know these primary metabolites. Okay, for example, that is nucleic acid. Talking about amino acid, carbohydrate. Okay, so the next one is that is lipids, glycerol, fatty acid. Okay, now protein. All these biomolecules are come into the category of primary metabolites. Okay, but when you're talking about a secondary metabolites, all the things are reverse of this. Okay, They do not have a definite role in physiological activity, growth and development. Okay, it do not have an identifiable role. But when talking about some organisms like plant, microbes and fungi. Okay, then all these macromolecules or produce some some organic compounds. Okay, that is organic compounds. Okay, which are waste for these macroorganisms. Waste for these organisms. Okay, but that is very useful. Please do remember that is waste for these organisms, but that is very useful for. This is very useful for human welfare. Okay, let's see what are those. That is pigments. First of all, you have to learn pigments. That is carotenoids, anthocyanin. Okay, now the next one is alkaloids. That is morphine and codeine. Okay, now the third one is that is terpenoids. That is monoterpenes, diterpenes. Okay, now the fourth one is that is essential oil. That is called lemongrass oil. Lemongrass oil. Okay, now the fifth one is that is toxin. That is abrine and ricin. Okay, now the next one is that is drugs. That is vinblastine, vincristine, and curcumins. Okay, and the last one is that is polymeric substances. Okay, that is cellulose, okay, gum, rubber. All these biomolecules come into the category of secondary metabolites. Okay, so please do remember these secondary metabolites are very, very important for NEET point of view. Okay, so you have to learn very, very carefully. Okay, the question of demand is very high from this point. Okay, all these waste material for these organisms. Okay, so thank you guys for watching my video. If you do really like this video, then please subscribe the channel and share with your friends.